What's up, everybody? Mike Lindsley back with you. Sorry for the late recap here. It is an ML Sports Take brought to you by our great friends over at Stubble and Monkey Brewing Company and Stanley Law Offices. Well, this was kind of an ugly game for St. Bonaventure against Auburn, obviously, in Brooklyn. I did not expect them to win this game. They hung in there, and I just kind of a few things right off the top that I have on my mind, in no particular order. I'm going to start from the end, actually, and I really love the fight. I mean, I know that that Bonnie was, out. They're two big guys with foul trouble and all the rest, and that's a huge problem right now with St. Bonaventure and Venning, getting in foul trouble and all the like. Last few minutes they're without Venning and Brown. They had to kind of go with a small lineup, but I did love the fight. I mean, it just seemed like they get it to 13 and boom, another haymaker's thrown. They get it, they fight through. I think did it get down to 11? At one point as well there in the second half. I'm trying to figure out how late they got. How low they got the lead late is kind of what I was looking for. But they were fighting and clawing. I mean, my God, this team was down 54-36 at one point when Flowers made that jump shot. Well, they were down 20 actually at that point. 63-47, just kind of scrolling down here. Got it down to 13, back up to 15, with the free throws. 15 again, 14, 16, 17. Oh, yeah, and then by that point, that was the end of the game. I'm trying to think. Well, yeah, it got down to 11 at that 71-60 mark, but by the time that happened, I mean, you're just running out of gas at that point. And then Auburn just kind of piled on some points from there. But again, when it got down to 13 or actually, it was down to 11 with 3:43 to go. That was the moment that I was looking for. It was a 13-point lead for Auburn, and then Evans made that great dunk from the assist by Adams Woods. And then from there, again, just haymakers throwing. Every time Bono would get it, 13, boom, points from Auburn, and it was just not meant to be. The double-digit thing could never get down to single-digit is basically what my point is. But I did love the fight. I really did. I mean, they were down. I thought this game could have been like a 30-point game in the second half. The second thing is, I've seen enough of Darryl Banks in the starting lineup. I mean, I don't know what the deal is with this guy. I do feel that when he's going and he's playing well and he's playing smart, that he's, when he gets into that mid-range part and he's hitting jump shots and when he gets hot from three, I feel like the offense is a different offense. But nothing is happening with his game right now. He's a roller coaster ride. There was a moment in the first half about halfway through, I think it was about at the 9-minute mark, where he just went up and completely turned the ball over, had no wherewithal with, in terms of where he was. I've completely seen enough, and I know that a lot of people have seen enough on the alumni pages. I think it's probably time to maybe bump him out of the starting lineup, have him come off the bench, maybe insert Evans into the starting lineup, and then bump everybody up, a position. Maybe you go Esmvis, Venning, Evans, and then you have Adams Woods, and Pride in the backcourt to start. Or do you pull Pride out? He struggled in Brooklyn across the board. I still have a lot of confidence in Charles Pride. He had a great game against Longwood and then struggled against Power 5 teams that are bigger, longer, and faster in the backcourt, which is going to be his kryptonite. It's going to be really his challenge in terms of dealing with, as my computer goes off on sound here. Sorry about that. Charles Pride, I mean, that's going to be one thing that's going to be a problem for him against bigger teams in the backcourt that are longer, leaner, faster, more athletic. That's just how it's going to be. And I think he's a starter against the Niagaras and the Longwoods and those kind of teams and probably most of the A-10. But when you get up against these Power 5 clubs, he's going to have some problems in terms of his makeup of his height and weight type of a thing. I would pull him out in these specific situations from the starting five. I would insert him in the starting five against those teams that I mentioned, like the Duquesnes and teams like that, maybe in the A-10. But boy, against the Auburns of the world, woof. I mean, against those backcourts, it's going to be tough. So, but I think overall, I think you pull Banks out at this particular point. I've seen enough. I think maybe coming in off the bench, maybe with the likes of Brown and Flowers, maybe when Luke comes back as well, maybe it's that group that comes off the bench and we have our starters, Mike Adams Woods at the point, you got Pride at the 2, and then you can maybe throw in a Obviously in Evans and Essenvis at the forwards, and then kind of your bigger forward Venning, the forward/center spot for him. But I've seen enough out of Banks. That's on my mind as well. St. Bonaventure, 24 3-point attempts seems like an awful lot to me, and they only hit 3. I know there's a lot of people pointing towards, well, you have to make more threes in order to beat Auburn, but they're not a 3-point shooting team. It's just a lot to ask Bonnie to make 10 or 12 threes. And if you're going to make 10 or 12 threes, you have to shoot 24. And I just don't think, again, that St. Bonaventure is that kind of team. I thought Bona actually hung in there in the rebounding category. They only got out-rebounded by 2. I know it felt like a lot of those were kind of garbage rebounds in the end, but, you look at the totals, and that's what it says. They only got out-rebounded by 2. In most of the statistical categories, though, the major metrics, Bonaventure just got completely cleaned by Auburn. The advantages were there, no question, for Auburn. Auburn had a deeper bench. They had more guys to go to. They had 5 guys coming off the bench who played a minimum each of 16 minutes. They got 14, 17. They got 25 points out of their bench players to make up for the Moore and Holloway, a group that didn't really perform that great. Broom was a problem with 18 points in this game. There was just no answer for him. Stylistically, again, I don't like when now Bonaventure scored 60, but Auburn scored 77. So there were defensive problems and lapses and all the rest. And the final thought that I have for this specific game, and I hope that they can kind of come out of it when, I don't know, maybe Luke coming back, maybe you bump Banks out of the starting. I don't know what it is with the offense, but there needs to be some kind of a rhythm here. I feel like St. Bonaventure rhythmically was a disaster last night. And I know that Schmidt's offense plays a lot of, here's the center forward, Venning or whatever, Essenvis or Brown coming in, and it's catch it at the top, and you're doing little handoffs at the perimeter, and round we go with like a gerbil on a wheel until we kind of figure out, oh, I'm open by chance, I'm just going to shoot the basketball. Or it's dump it inside, and Venning can't really get anything going. Early on in this game, you felt strong, I think. For the first, I probably would say, what would we go on? 9-6, 11-6, 13-6. Auburn started to get going from there. I would say the first 4 minutes, though, right, until that Charles Pride turnover, probably. Brown made a layup, right, assisted by Banks. You had Venning turn it over, but you had some Venning made the first shot of the game, right? The first 2. He had the layup and then he had the jumper. Essenvis missed the 3-point shot, but you could see that Bonaventure was able to get some decent looks. Brown makes a layup to make it 6-6. Jones and Broom then score, and then Broom scored again, and then the free throws, and he kind of, Adams Woods made the layup, and it was still 15-8. So, again, that first 5-6 minutes, you're kind of looking at the flow until things kind of got out of control. Bonaventure was down, 20 points at the half. But in the first 3, 4, 5 minutes, I thought that Bona was able to, get good looks even when they missed, and they were scoring the basketball with the previously mentioned guys there with Venning and company. So, but after that, it looked like the rhythm was just not there. The tempo was just not there, and it was just a lot of that, guys on the outside, let's see what we got, let's try to get lucky. Somebody's open for 3, we're down let's just chuck it up and see what No, there's got to be more rhythm with this offense, and I know that Schmidt knows what he's doing. He's in his 17th year. Where would we be without this guy? So I can't really criticize him a lot. And this is the offense that they've gone with. He has his system, and a lot of it, whether it's Jay Adams and Posley or it's a Stockard, all these different, Nicholson, all these superstar players we've seen in the past, the handoff thing on the outside, it has worked, and the system has worked, and moving without the ball has worked, and going inside, when you need to, has worked. And, the wing play has worked, and driving to the basket in specific contests has worked. He's mixed and matched when he's needed to, so the system has worked mostly. But this situation so far this year, we're going to see a lot more of this because of the NIL and the transfer portal and all the rest. We don't know what the rosters look like year to year, but it looks like Barry Evans, that maybe is one of my big takeaways, and I'm going to get to that in closing here, and I'm going to go a little long again because I like to talk about the Bonnies. But my couple of takeaways from this is, Charles Pride's struggled. I'm not giving up on him. I think he struggled because it was Power 5 teams with big, long, strong backcourts, and I think he'll rebound. Barry Evans coming out of this tournament, I was so impressed. I mean, this guy, from a rebounding standpoint, the defense was outstanding against Oklahoma State and really, really good against Auburn. He had 14 rebounds against 2 Power 5 schools. I think that's a huge deal. I think Bonnie getting healthy is going to be a very important thing as well. Flowers and Luke from a depth standpoint. Venning overall, super happy with his game, but he's got to clean up the foul trouble, and I got to see more rhythm on offense just overall, because I think Semvis, the former Jan, and I think even a Banks coming off the bench, if he switches there. I think Adams Woods had a phenomenal tournament. He had 28 points against Power 5 squads. He looked calm and cool, and just kind of like he was combing his hair in the morning, getting ready, and just, I'm good, man. I'm chill. And he looked really good. So those would be some of the takeaways coming out of this thing. Obviously, I'd love for this team to be 3-1, with a win over Canisius at home. Now they've got to just completely make up for that loss. I don't know how they're going to do it. They do have some games coming up, Florida Atlantic and all the rest, a couple in the A-10 maybe to do it. But it all starts with kind of trying to get back into a rhythm and Bucknell on Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. So overall, I am happy with the performance in Brooklyn. I am. I mean, Auburn's a really, really good team. Auburn's an unbelievably athletic team, and Auburn could make noise in March. And it's really, really early, but they're good, and they're athletic, and they're deep, and they are physical, and they are big, and they are long, and they are lean, and Bruce Pearl is a really, really good head coach. So I'm happy. I mean, Bonner went down and got a win against Okie State. They rebounded from the Canisius loss, and now you come back with home game at UB, at Niagara, Siena at home. I dread these games. I'm not going to lie. The UB, Niagara, Siena, Canisius shit. I dread these games. I wouldn't mind just getting rid of all these games, honestly, and just rebooking somebody else. Florida Atlantic, obviously, you got Binghamton. Florida Atlantic's in Springfield at the Basketball Hall of Fame Classic thing, right? And then you got Binghamton and Akron at home. Akron's in Cleveland at the Pro Arena. So Binghamton, you got to win these games at home against these teams, and then you have the A-10 coming. So overall, I'm very, very happy with what they did in Brooklyn. I think there are problems. I think there are some success stories, and I think there's a lot in the middle. And I'd love to see the tempo and rhythm of this thing, this offense, this group kind of get going a little bit. I don't know if it's less handoffs from out on the perimeter and less shot clock running down, getting up early, dumping it down, maybe more passing and cutting, maybe more mid-range stuff. Something's got to work here. But the rhythm in the offense last night was brutal. And I thought there was actually a good point made on X, and I try to get off Twitter during these games because it's just a cesspool. But SBU Unfurled is just an unbelievable handle. I mean, everybody's got to go out there and follow these guys. They're tremendous. The recaps are great. The pregame stuff is great with the graphics and the analysis during the games. It's outstanding. But they were making a point last night, and a very good one, that, did Auburn have the business of being up by 20? I mean, I could see maybe 10. But because of Bonaventure's lack of rhythm, tempo, etc., timing on offense, that caused Auburn to be up by a lot as well. And even though Bonner only got out-rebounded by 2, some of those key rebounds early in the game, coupled with the rhythm and timing and tempo lacking on offense, was how Auburn got up 20 at the half. But again, like I said, I gave you my positives, I gave you my negatives, I gave you everything in between. Now you kind of come back to Olean, you regroup. Huge showing, of course, from the Bonner faithful, which was tremendous to see. And overall, really happy. Man, you just can't beat New York City, can you? I mean, my God, our Bonnies are in New York City for 2 games. Dave Matthews Band is at Madison Square Garden for a 2-day show. My favorite group. I've seen him 61 times. Had a couple of buddies at the show last night. Rockefeller Center is amazing with a Christmas tree. You got all the restaurants, all the sports and entertainment and everything in between. The tourists. And plus, if you've never been to the city this time of year, up approaching Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving Day parade and all that, and then into the holiday season, it is a remarkable, remarkable spectacle. It's lit up. It's amazing. Big stage. And these games, again, I mean, we're talking about, and I'll end on this. I said it in the previous video. I'm going to say it again. These monster brands, man, Notre Dame, Auburn, Oklahoma State, and the Legends Classic in Brooklyn, with a city, the big stage, the bright lights, all the skyline shots during the tournament. And there we are, the brown and white, man, 2,000 students. I love it. I love that we're involved in these things. It's a great experience. It's an awesome recruiting tool. And overall, I think a positive experience for St. Bonaventure University, the athletic program, and Bona basketball. Hey, thanks for watching ML Sports Take, brought to you by Stumbling Monkey Brewing Company and Stanley Law Offices. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Let's see, there's another game coming up Wednesday, so I'll try to get that baby done actually Wednesday night before Thanksgiving so I can take the holiday off, and then we'll go from there, and we'll keep hammering them out here as we move through the month of November and into December. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.